So last night during the campfire we spoke about Lord Jagannath and Ratha-yatra. I want to explain again, but from an understanding that we can come to for the vision of this place and how Ratha-yatra serves the vision of this place. This ashram is not arranged by us, but arranged by Krishna, by Jagannath, by Bhagavan, by God. He has arranged this place. This is his abode, his garden. And so what is our meditation daily is how can we understand his vision and serve his vision, not manifest our vision. There's a difference between the vision of man and the vision of God. So in our organization, our meditation daily is how can we serve the vision of God? And how do we understand the vision of God? Through the spiritual master. How do we see God? Through the eyes of the spiritual master, through the words of the spiritual master, through observing the spiritual master. But the Vaishnava said this place is like a spiritual oasis, a garden. A spiritual oasis that lost souls can come to in their search for God. And so it's a place for devotees to come and celebrate festivals. But even more than that, it's a place for devotees to act as ambassadors of bhakti, of this pure love of God in our line to the world. And so more and more we'll invite people to come and find shelter, sanctuary, be at peace, be at home. In this world, everyone is wandering where? In the cycle of samsara. Brahmanda pramite, wandering in the universe. The interesting thing about this is that, what is the Brahmanda? Brahma-anda. The golden egg of the universe is that of spirit, Brahma. It's not called Maya-anda or Prakriti-anda. It's called Brahma-anda. That is our name for the universe. Anda means an egg. And so the universe is described to be a golden egg. And there are millions and millions of these universes floating in cosmic creation. Each of these universes is Brahmanda, not Jagat, not Prakriti Anda, not Bhumi Anda, not Miti Anda. Miti means earth, soil, matter. It's not Jadanda, the inert abode of just dead matter. It's Brahmanda, the universe of spirit. And that spirit manifests in all varieties of the elements and the forms of this world. But understand that the underlying principle of everything is spirit. And therefore the spiritual journey is to know that spirit and to inquire into that spirit. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Inquire into the absolute truth. Who am I? Janmad asya yataha. From where has everything come? This Brahmanda, this universe, this egg, golden egg that we are all living within. It's described to be like, you can imagine, this whole temple room filled with golden mustard seeds. Each mustard seed is a universe. How many universes are there in this temple room? Many, many, many. But what are these universes? Brahmanda. They are manifestations of God in His Spirit, in His potency. His potency manifests as existence. And what is the purpose of existence? To please God. Why? Because it's coming from His Spirit, His force, His potency. Who is Radha? In the highest understanding of the absolute form of the Supreme Goddess, the feminine aspect of Godhead, Sri Radha, everything is manifesting from her. Shakti Parinambad, Mahaprabhu taught. So everything there is simply a manifestation of the desire of the beloved to serve God. So this universe is what? What are the ingredients of this universe for? To serve God. What is this ashram for? To serve Krishna. But how do we serve Krishna? In this universe, Brahmanda. Brahmanda Tarite Shakti Dhare Jane Jane. The Vaishnavas, or the great messengers of the Lord, they come. What is a Vaishnav? messenger of Krishna. Na karma bandhanam janma. Therefore they are not bound by karma. A real Vaishnava, the highest caliber of Vaishnava, na karma bandhanam janma, no karma can touch them. Because they are not in this world, they are entering this world, but they are not of this world. Because they have come here to take us out of this world as a bridge to God. Therefore, Vaishnav Matra Jagadguru. The Vaishnav is Jagadguru. Like Srila Prabhupada, like Srila Gurudev. Jagadguru, Guru of the whole Brahmanda. Why? Because this is the divine system of the Lord to take us from samsara to the spiritual world. So Brahmanda, this universe, even though it is Mayadham, the abode of the prison of Maya, still it is manifested from spirit. And within that, Mahat Tattva, Brihat Tattva, everything is manifesting. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, the senses, the objects of the senses, the knowledge acquiring senses, the acting senses, the mind, the intelligence, the ego. Where does it come from? Matter doesn't develop into spirit. Spirit develops and expands in the form of material consciousness, material existence. And consciousness enters into that material existence, prakriti. So the question is, how can we understand what is this samsara for? Krishna samsara. This is for God. So this ashram is also for His pleasure. This festival we're doing is for His pleasure. As soon as we can switch our perspective of consciousness, our perception, then we become liberated. What is that switch that we need to do? Krishnendriya priti vancha, that is premanam. The desire to please the senses of God, that is love. Atmendriya priti vancha, desire to please yourself, that is lust. So when we're having this festival, at every moment we should consider, am I acting and inspiring to please the senses of God? Or am I acting and aspiring to please myself? Simple switch. It's a daily meditation. Why do we have mantra meditation? Daily reminders so that, because Maya or darkness creeps up on us unexpectedly. Sun goes down and Maya attacks. Illusion. And by magic words, why? By weaving the spell of Shastra, spiritual knowledge, then we can hold Maya at bay for some time, but therefore we need to remind ourselves. Brahmacharya, what does that mean? To be wandering within the Spirit of God, always absorbed in that Spirit. Then you can see the world as Spirit, force behind everything. If you read Vedanta Sutra, it describes what is the Pran, that is Brahma. What is the Agni, that is Brahma. What is the Vayu, that is Brahma. Everything is absolute, spirit. Without that, there is no life. Without Paramatma, there is no Atma. Without the super soul, there is no soul. We are bound to Him. When the universe is born, no other entities could wake up until Paramatma was awakened. Garbhadakshayi Vishnu, resting in the bottom of the ocean of existence in this universe. When He awoke, then we awoke. Without His awakening consciousness, we're all... Why? When He rests, we all rest. What is His rest? When the universe is dissolved. It enters back within His form. And for then, how many? 312 trillion years we are resting. Until we are reborn. 312 trillion years when the universe is withdrawn back into the pores of God, in the causal ocean. Gunavatar, Shira Karuna Dakshayi Vishnu. The Lord who is resting in the oceans of all existence, all the universes, all the Brahmandas draw back within His body. And then we rest 312 trillion years until He breathes out again. Everything manifests. And then He enters into each universe. God enters into each universe and is the soul of each universe. And then when the devatas, the demigods, He is worshipped and He awakens, then all the living entities again take on their forms on the spiritual journey. So the purpose of the entire universe is to facilitate the spiritual journey of the soul. The purpose of every universe, facilitating the spiritual journey of the soul from matter to spirit, from material consciousness to God consciousness, from material consciousness to Krishna consciousness. That is the journey of the soul. So what is the purpose of the Brahmanda? To facilitate the spiritual journey of the soul to God. That is the purpose of the universe. So how do we serve this in this ashram? To facilitate the spiritual journey of the soul to God. That is the purpose of this ashram. Therefore, what is our mission statement? To serve you on your spiritual journey. How do we serve you? By caring for you, by sheltering, by giving a place, by giving a spiritual home. Then by doing festivals, Ratha-yatra. What is Ratha-yatra? We are wandering in this cosmic creation since time immemorial. So Ratha-yatra means, let us go to God. Let us follow His footsteps. Not just go to God, but go to His eternal abode. God is in this universe. Why? Brahmanda, Jagannath. This universe is whose property? Jagannath's property. Jagannath means the Lord of the universe. So who we are worshipping this weekend is Jagannath, the Lord of the universe. This universe, that universe, every universe. Sakala Brahmanda Jagannath, the Lord of every universe. That is God. Janmadasya yataha, from which everything has come. Janma, what is our real birth? Therefore, this second verse of Vedanta Sutra, Janma Adi Asya Yataha, it is connected to what? Our spiritual birth through praying, pure love. How can we awaken into divine love for God? Janma Adi. Adi means Adi Ras, the original mellow. What is that original mellow? Pure love for God. Therefore, when Jagannath came as Mahaprabhu to teach us the method of spiritual life in the mood of Radharani, the mood of the beloved of God. Who is Radha? She who's always, her love is like a river flowing only to Krishna. Rag Davatiyati Radha. Running towards God, Krishna with love. That is Radha, eternally. And then ever expanding to please and satisfy her beloved. That is Shri Radha. So how can we, this is a daily meditation. All it takes is, you start with the meditation. Am I acting today for pleasing my senses, or am I acting today to please the senses of God? Then when you're cooking or cleaning, what are the gopis doing? Milking the cows, tending to their children. It's not that you have to become an external sannyasi, internal sannyasi. Monk in your heart, what does that mean? Everything you're doing is for God. That is what it means to be a monk. Right, Mangala Gita?
Monk in your heart.
She's wearing saffron, very nice. Doesn't mean you can't have children, you can't have husband, can't have family like the gopis, but they were sannyasis. Why? Everything they did was to please the senses of God. That is bhakti. That becomes praying. So that is the purpose. If we can live like that, when we're in the garden, why are you in the garden? Tell me.
So nice flowers can grow photography.
Why? That's what you're doing. But why are you doing it? To please the senses of God. Krishnendriya priti vanchan hari premanam. The endeavor to satisfy the senses of God, that is bhakti, that is love. How can I serve Him with all of my being? That is brahmacharya. The external action without the internal mood will be karma. The external action without the right mood. But in the temple, everything is bhakti, so you're fortunate to be in the temple. But what I'm saying is, even in household life, what does it mean to be like, think like a monk? We say, think like a monk, think like a monk. It means every endeavor as a daily meditation. Am I acting today to please the senses of God or to please myself? Is what I'm doing pleasing to Him? How do we understand how to please Him? Take shelter of someone who knows Him. Otherwise we think, but you start with simple gestures. I remember learning this in school. Gopa Mataji, you remember Braj used to tell this story. He would say a son once went to his father's closet, took out his wallet, took out some money, went to the store, bought him a tie, brought it back, gave the father the tie. He said, you don't have any money, where'd you get the money? He said, took it from your wallet. But the father was very happy. Why? He took money from his father, but he didn't use it for himself, he used it for his father. That is bhakti. Everything in this world is God's property. Our body is from God. The world, everything, the material, everything that is making this building, everything is His property. Everything comes from Him. Janma Adi, whatever is born, that is born from God. Sakale Jagata Mita Mata Pita. The Father and the Mother, the entire universe, the entire existence, that is God. Ek Ishwar, there's one God only. The God of the Jews, the gods of the Christian, the God of the Muslims, the God of everyone is one God. There's only one God. That's why all the books, they say, worship me only. Don't worship many gods. Why? Because there is only one God. But you can understand how He appears to His different people, according to how they can see Him. So you accept that. But how can we try to please and serve His senses? Therefore, when we're doing Ratha-yatra today, we're having a fun festival. We're doing it for ourselves. Now the secret doesn't mean you can't enjoy. We think enjoyment means pleasing our own senses. But our senses are mundane. Sarirara vidya jal. Our senses are a network leading us to death, dragging us. Prahlad Maharaj said, we think we're happy. All our senses are like co-wives dragging us to enjoy. Imagine if you have 10 co-wives trying to make you enjoy all together at the same time in different places. You're being dragged in different directions. That's the chariot on the battlefield with all the wild horses going in different directions. Prahlad Maharaj said this. Said, we're on the battlefield of life, and 5 horses are the 5 senses. And the mind is the reins connecting the soul or the self to the chariot of the body, and the reins to the horses of the senses. And we're trying to lead the chariot, but their senses are uncontrolled. The horses are running in every direction. What is that? Each of those senses agitated, trying to enjoy. That is in our DNA. That is samsara chakra, wandering in samsara. How can I enjoy in every species of life? I'm not satisfied enjoying as a dog, so I'll enjoy as a hog, and a tiger, and a cat, and an elephant, and a man, and a woman, and a tree, and a fish. Enjoy. Bhoga. That's why they say even going to hell is a kind of bhog. To enjoy the fruits of your karma. You go to heaven, you go to hell. You want to enjoy your senses, but do you want to please the senses of God? That is bhakti. Please the senses of God. So we meditate, therefore. What is Ratha-yatra? What is the purpose of Ratha-yatra? Understanding the heart of Krishna and how we can truly please Him. So that should be the next question. First meditation. What is our first meditation?
How to please the senses of God.
How to please the senses. And simple thing. The gopis are milking the cows, taking care of their children, rolling chapatis. And what are they doing? Our Gurudev, what do we famously sing all the time? You know it, I don't need to sing it. Govinda Damodhara Madhaveti He Govinda Damodhara Madhaveti Govinda Damodhara Madhaveti. What is in the heart of the gopis? Whatever they are doing, what is in their heart? How can I please my beloved Krishna? Therefore, how do I always stay close to Him? How do we stay close to God in this world? Right? We should understand that we generally hear our stories thinking, oh, this is some nice story from some far-off place, some world I've never seen, I don't know. And how am I trying to go there? But think of these stories and how you can live in a way, a godly life. Think, when you hear the stories of the gopis, when you hear the stories of Prahlad, how can I live a godly life? So that I can go from this world of pain and suffering to His eternal realm. How can I live a godly life? So what are the gopis doing? They're always chanting His names. Why? Because when we chant the names of God, we are necessarily reminded of Him. That's the power of the name. Especially when you develop love for someone, right? Imagine you love someone, you're always thinking of them. How do you always think of them? Remembering them, remembering their name. The difference between material name and spiritual name, material sound and spiritual sound, is that spiritual sound and the spiritual name pulls you out of Maya. Mantra. That's why it's called a mantra. If I say, Kevin, 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 it's not a mantra, it's an illusion. But if I say Kirtan, 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 that becomes a mantra. Why? Spiritual sound vibration rips you out of Maya. That's why, what is the service of the spiritual master? Santa evaisha chindanti manavyasa muktivi. With their words to cut through the web of illusion that is binding you to samsara. What words? By mantra. So what is the mantra, Mahamantra that we chant? Why are we doing Ratha-yatra? Without kirtan, no Ratha-yatra. Because now the question is, okay, in my life, I should try to please and serve God. By taking care of my family, by taking care of my children, but also I have some duty to Him. Gurudev said, what is morality? In this world we think morality, being a good person, being good to your neighbor, being a good brother, a good sister, yes. But we have some duty to God. And if we don't follow that, then we have no morality. To whom has created everything, we say, oh, I'm indebted to the government, so I give a certain amount in the world, we think. Before, people understood the relationship between society and God. And so when we work, we tithe to the church. But the church became corrupt because of the entrance of Kali, sin. And so then we lose faith in it, and then we think we replace God with government. What is America? America is not the land of the government, it's the land of God. What do we say? Nowadays you say, oh, God, family, country. Oh, you're a far-right extremist. You tell someone, I believe in God, family, country, they say, oh, you must have guns. You must believe in family values. Oh, that's such an antiquated idea. Family. Patriarchy. What is patriarchy? God. That is the patriarchy. Bow down before God. Who is God? He is the ultimate patriarch. He is Jagannath. That's why Krishna says, Madhyaji mam namaskuru. Worship me and bow down before me. But we've replaced God with government, therefore, from the time I'm born to the time I'm dying, whatever I do, I'm a servant of the government. Everyone works for the federal government. Right? Everyone works for the federal government. Why? Because whatever I work, I owe this much. 15, 30%. 50%. Why? New York City. 4% to the city. 8% to the state. 12 to 20% to the federal government. So 20%, 30%, 40% of all I do, and the rest they give you just enough to keep the lights on, to feed your children, to maintain, to pay for and still property tax, home insurance, life insurance, car insurance, this, that, and the other. In New York City, you want to park a car, how much does it cost a month to park a car? You can't even have a car because it costs so much to have a car. So you're working for the government. No problem. Christ said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Take it. But we have some duty to God also. Therefore, if you look at the old time, in the Bible it says tithe. 10% to God. Not that He needs your money, but that you can serve His will. And so it's a token. Money is what? Energy. A certain portion of my energy should go for God and His cause because it's His earth. God and country and family. On the dollar bill, what do we say? In God we trust. But what does it mean to be corrupt? Corruption just means one thing. Trying to be God and making others serve us in the name of God. Oh, in God we trust. Who is God? I am God. That's the secret behind In God We Trust. In God we trust. Yes, trust God. But just trust Him through me. Give it all to me and let me do all sorts of... You want to know what's going on? You don't want to know what's going on. You don't know what's going on. Better to be happy in your life and try to take care of your family. You want to touch the darkness? Oof, dangerous. Some Satriyas, Mahabodhi, he knows what's going on. But the point is, how can we live a godly life? Go back a few hundred years ago, everyone goes to church on Sunday. Nowadays, church on Sunday. What an idiot. You're going to church? Don't you know God is dead? Didn't you hear it? Didn't you get the message? God is dead? God is not dead. You are dead. Why? You've been destroyed. You've been killed. Because your mind has become overtaken by false ideology, the false prophet. What is the false prophet? Money. Enjoyment. How can I enjoy and be so-called free? You think you're free. You're a slave of your senses. You're a slave of illusion. And so what does the false god of government want you to do? The false god wants you to be enjoying in this world as much as possible in tamagun. Therefore, what does the government do with your tax dollars? Facilitates sinful activity. Meat industry. All the food products they facilitate are all the food products that are meant to dull you, to bring you down into material consciousness. God is calling. No, who's calling? Right? So no problem. The world is, actually everything is favorable. Bhakti-Rakshak Srila Goswami Maharaj would say, understand that everything is favorable if you are trying to serve God. So there's two different things in life. You're bound to suffer in material existence. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, therefore be a warrior. Why? Winter and summer is inevitable. Happiness and distress are inevitable. But you can be happy in distress if you're serving God. Because you're following your duty, your highest moral value. Morality to God, love for God. When you put God at the center, then you can understand how everything, government served God. That's why in the Vedic Varnashram system, Kshatriyas, or the administrators, take shelter of their gurus, the Brahmin class, who teach them how to serve God. In Gopakumar's life, he arranged temples, he arranged festivals. What are we doing here? We're serving the purpose of society by arranging for festivals to serve senses of God. What is Ratha-yatra to do? Not to please and satisfy our senses, to please and satisfy the senses of God. So when Ramananda Roy's brother, he was a tax collector, but he started misappropriating it for festivals and for different things, and then he got in trouble and he was going to be killed. And Mahaprabhu said, why have you gone against the government? You shouldn't act, right? You shouldn't, this so-called, I will be a revolutionary against it. No, be a spiritual revolutionary, be a spiritual warrior. You're like running against, you're running with a piece of straw, fighting an army with millions of guns, swords. What are you doing? Be a spiritual revolutionary. Use a power that they don't have. The power of love, the power of the name, the power of Sankirtan. They can't touch it. What did Mahaprabhu do? When Mahaprabhu was traveling, he was going to Vrindavan. Hundreds of thousands of people started following him. First 1,000, then 10,000, then 20,000, then 100,000. Millions of people were following Mahaprabhu to Vrindavan. And he came by this kingdom of the Qazi, Muslim king. And the Muslim king was standing on his tower. Very wide, they like a big tall tower so I can see my kingdom. I am God. My kingdom. And he saw it and he thought, who is this prophet? I can't afford to hire 10,000 soldiers to always do whatever I want. But yet he has 1 million people following him. What is he doing? Is he giving them any food, any money, anything? Nothing. They're following him because they're following God. But then, who is his ministers? Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, arranged by Krishna. Why did they become his ministers? Because this was Krishna's plan. We think, Rupa and Sanatana, they had to go become the ministers. They were like giving up their Hindu faith and becoming like Muslim, Damir Kash, Shakir Malik. Why? Krishna's arrangement, so they can advise the king the path of righteousness. No, Mahaprabhu, he's a saintly person. He's not trying to overthrow your government. He's bringing people to God. What happened when Christ came? The Jews wanted him to be the Messiah that would overthrow the present government and be the king. But he wasn't. It said in his birth, right? He would either be a great king emperor of the world, or he'd be a great prophet, a great Messiah who would bring everyone to God. What is more important, going to God or staying in this world? Give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Let him take it. But he can't take our heart. He can't take our love for God. Therefore, what did Haridas Thakur say? Haridas Thakur, born Yavan. But, what did he say? You can't take away my freedom to love God in my way. That's why America, our country, was founded in the principles of religious freedom. Haridas Thakur said, Kanda kande jadi jai deha pran. You can cut my body into 1,000 pieces. I will never give up the chanting of Krishna. Yes. This is revolution. Also, spiritual revolution. When Swami Prabhupada came to America, he created a spiritual revolution. How did he do that? Ratha-yatra. Every town and city. In Jagannath Puri, they got upset with Prabhupada. Oh, Ratha-yatra is only this time. This weekend of July. Prabhupada said, no, Ratha-yatra is every weekend. All around the world, Ratha-yatra. Why? Ratha-yatra is the festival to take the soul from this world to God. You want to remain in Maya and illusion? You've been suffering in illusion forever. So you accept. Spiritual life means Shreya Preya. Lust means, oh, nice in a moment, right? The difference between pleasing the senses of God, pleasing yourself, lust. Oh, it's very nice. It tastes very good. Experience is very good. But it leads to misery and pain and death. And love, the spiritual path means momentary pain of growth, growing pains. And then, eternal bliss. So they say spiritual life is pain in the beginning, bliss throughout. Material life is bliss in the beginning, pain throughout. Shreya and Preya. So how do we go on the path of Shreya? Spiritual life. We accept those troubles on the journey to God that He puts before us. Therefore in the Bible there's the story of Job. Right? How he was tested. How he came out as gold. And what did he say? I've searched for God everywhere, in the east and the west, in the north and the south. I cannot see Him, but I know His presence and I'm trying to follow His steps. So that is Ratha-yatra, following Jagannath. Where is Jagannath going? To Vrindavan. So where are we ultimately going? When Prabhupada came, what was his magazine? Back to God. In this world we think, I want the kingdom of God, but God should be an absent father forever. I don't want Him disturbing my enjoyment. The kingdom of God without God, that's what we want. And we want complete freedom to be in the deepest depravity of sinful life. And we think that is godly life. Godly life is debauchery. But what we are trying to do is awaken pure God consciousness. Be the change. According to our capacity, be the change. What's the best way to be the change? Think. Prabhupada engaged everyone according to their qualification. That means that's how bhakti develops. So you look, everyone according to their qualification. When we think every day, how can I please God? How can I do my duty in life to please God? Then you understand, you need a guide who can tell you, okay, this is your characteristics, this is how you can serve God best you. So you can do this duty, you can do that duty in household life, in renounced life, in this work, in that work, do this as a Kshatriya, as a Brahmin, as a Vaishya, as a Sudra, work, serve God. But daily have some spiritual practice. What's the difference between Varnashram and Daivi Varnashram? Varnashram means, oh, yeah, God is somewhere out there and I'm just going to do my duty in this world and be a good person. But Daivi Varnashram means, according to your qualification in this body, but serve God, knowing He is at the center. And then you can live the divine life. Therefore, diet of an ashram, in regular Varnashram, Shudras, laborer class, Vaishya, merchant class, Kshatriya, administration and protecting class, and Brahmin, spiritual class, intelligent class. In regular Varnashram, they think of God as like some custom, some culture, but they don't think in their heart how to love and how to serve God. They have all other symptoms of morality, but no love for God. Or if they have love for God, it's dormant. It's on the side. It's like you dust it off for an hour on Sunday. You kind of tip your hat. But we say no. In the morning, chant the name of God for at least 1.5 hours. Every morning in our temple after Mangalarti, what do we play? Srila Prabhupada Mahamantra chanting. Why? We're Prabhupada men. In our mission, Bhaktabandhav, who are acharyas, he is our acharya, Srila Swami Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev. Together, there are generals. The mood of Srila Gurudev, the mission and the model of Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, we are not Gaudiya Math. Who are we? We are followers and servants of Srila Gurudev and Srila Swami Prabhupada. How to create a spiritual revolution in the lives of materialistic society, bringing them to the shelter of God, bringing them to real happiness, away from suffering. Therefore, we do Ratha-yatra. What is Ratha-yatra? How to please God? How Krishna himself is trying to please his beloved Srimati Radhika. Understand her glory, her mood, her love. Therefore, if you only worship Krishna without Radha, you don't worship real God. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada says, understanding of God as just the Purush is understanding God as an impotent eunuch, without potency, without form, without qualities. Understand Radha, then you understand Krishna. We see it in this world, man, woman, and all species, birds, bees, trees. It's all this reflection of the spiritual reality. So you want to understand Krishna, you must understand who is Radharani. Then you can understand Radha Krishna. Then you can come to the stage of really knowing how to please God. How? Radha Krishna prana mora jugala kishora jivane marane aragati nahi more. This is Ratha-yatra. Radha Krishna are my life and soul. I know no one but them. Without them I have no life. In life or death I only know them. Then I can understand what it is to be a servant of God. Otherwise, without Radharani, we have two dysfunction in God life. In a godly life, two kinds of dysfunction. Either I want to be Krishna, I want to be God, or I want to be Radha. I want to be the lover of God. We don't want to be the servant of God. How do you be the servant of God? Radha Krishna. Serve the divine couple. Then all of his love also flows upon us. But the essential nature of the living entity is that we want to assert the position of God or assert the position of God. It's very popular nowadays, right? Let's have a goddess circle. I am the goddess. Not I am the servant. I am the goddess. And you see basketball players. I'm like a god. Yeah? Superman, Clark Kent. But the actor, he thought, I am like a god. Most beautiful, most celebrated, everyone loved him. So when he got old and ugly, he wouldn't show his face in society for 20 years. Why? Because his illusion was being eroded. If I am God, why am I impotent and weak and thin and frail and I have cancer and I'm dying and I'm paraplegic? I'm God. God that can't move. God that can't work. God that can't love and enjoy. Who's that God? So we want to be God or we want to be the goddess? We need to learn to serve God. Serve his beloved. Understand Radha Krishna and we are the servants of God. That is what it means, God, country, family. We are all in the family of God and we try to serve them. Then, spiritual family life means all enjoyment is there. But only you have to change our mood and our perception and our attitude. Change your attitude, get liberation. But that's why it's a mantra, because we need to regularly remind ourselves. What am I doing today? Today, not tomorrow, in a year, or in 2 years, or when I'm old. Prahlad Maharaj said, start now. Komara Charan Pragya. Start now. You're going to wait till you're an old man to do bhajan? There's a beautiful song. Kulashekar. When I'm old, I'm dying, I'm full of pain in all parts of my body. And my mouth is filling up with mucus and pus, and I'm trying to chant your name. I cannot do it. So difficult. So what should I do? Start now. You want to remember God at the time of death? Remember God now. Because when are you going to die? You don't know. So practice now. Try to serve God and please God. 10% of your time. If you can't give 10% of your money, give 10% of your time to God. That means in the morning chant, in the afternoon chant, in the evening chant. Give 10% of your time to God. Then you'll learn to give 11, 12, 13. Then the rest of your time will be for God. What do they say? If 1% of the world changes, the rest of the world will change. So be the change. How do you be the change? Give your heart and your soul and your love to God and to serving others for His pleasure. Then you can understand how to please Him, taking shelter of a spiritual master. That is what it means to tithe. Tithe your energy to God, however way you can. Then you can go to Him. Then Ratha-yatra, we're following Him. Ratha-yatra is going out of this world to the spiritual world. That is Ratha-yatra. And as long as we're in this world, Ratha-yatra means whatever motion we do, whatever activity we do, wherever we go, we're serving God. Ratha-yatra in this world means serving God in this world. And Ratha-yatra, the end of life, that's why there's two Ratha-yatras, going and coming. Right? What are we doing in this life? Going and coming, either in Maya or in godly consciousness, Krishna consciousness. So how do we serve God in Ratha-yatra? In our daily life. Every day should be a Ratha-yatra. Going to work to serve Krishna. Taking care of my family and serving God. Ratha-yatra every day. Madhu Mangal is expert Ratha-yatra. Every day he's doing Ratha-yatra. I know. 6 hours here, 4 hours there, 8 hours there. But some portion of that is just for God. And then if you offer a portion, then everything becomes offered. First portion goes to God. That's why in Vrindavan, Mathura, Gurudev would say, whatever you earn, whatever you collect, every Dwadasi we do Bhiksha in Mathura. This is our spiritual culture. Akadashi we fast. Why? Because my whole life I'm collecting things for my enjoyment. So one day I fast and I give it all to God. That food that I would eat, I put it aside. I say, today I'm fasting for my enjoyment. I'm giving this day to God. And then the next day, you know what you do? You give that to the temple. That's spiritual culture. In Vedic culture, Dwadasi, which is the day after the fasting day, that's the day that all the mendicants go and beg. And we do it in Mathura. I did it in Bengal. And we beg a little bit of flour, a little bit of rice. And a little bit of sugar, a little bit of ghee or oil. And we bring it back and we cook it. Not for ourselves, but to liberate those people. You think Gurudev needs? I'll tell you why Gurudev didn't need. Prabhuji went to a house, he was going barefoot in 120-degree weather in Mathura in the summer, June, July, August. Concrete road burning, feet full of blisters, no money to buy shoes. One businessman, their heart melted and said, "You're doing Bhiksha. I'll give you enough rice and flour and dal and ghee and sugar so you never have to beg." He came back and told Gurudev. Gurudev said, "Never go to that person again. That person wants to bind you to Maya." How will you save the conditioned souls if you don't go and beg? So Dwadasi day is the day that we give. What is Ekadashi? It means every 14 days we give one day to God. And then the earning from that one day we give to God. The food that we would eat that day we give to God. That liberates us. Not that God needs it, it's how we get liberated. Annamaya Brahma. Food is also spirit. God's force in food. If food doesn't have spirit, then it doesn't give you life. The more alive the food is, the more life it gives you. Why? And the Vedanta says, Annamaya Brahma. Grain is, the power of God is within grain. So in Ekadashi we fast from grain to give it to Him the next day. But in this world, everyone is against God, and therefore they give everything to the government. Why is the church tax deductible? Because at least in the constitution, the principle of the country, we know, give something to God. And then if you give that portion to God, you don't have to give it to the government. That means I can deduct what I give to God from my own taxes. But no one wants to do it. Why? Because everyone is happy in their own complacency and Maya. And they'll live for Maya. Millions of lifetimes in the past, millions of lifetimes in the future. You look at examples like Uma Didi. Uma Didi was a very sweet, simple household lady, but she loved her guru. we have this book, Bhami Goswami Maharaj's letters. And every letter he writes to her, and it's so much affection there. Why? Because she loves so much. She would collect, and whatever she could, she would give. And therefore, she becomes a saint. All around the world, people know her and bow down before her as a saint, Shamarani Didi. A saintly personality. Why? Because if you look at her life, every day of her life, she's serving God. From the time she joined the mission. With whatever unique qualification she has, dovetailed according to her nature, every day she served, sacrificing her own health. But then Prabhupada would say to her, take care of your health. And so he would send her on retreats sometimes. Stop painting, stop being around those fumes, and just take care of yourself. Why? Because when you serve God with all your life, with all your energy, your body becomes a temple. Therefore, taking care of that temple is the work of the mission, to take care of the devotees. If we don't take care of the devotees, then the devotees, they're the temple. This building, there's millions of buildings. With no devotees, it's just a regular building. With devotees, it's a temple. So the devotees are the temple. Therefore, in our mission, we put the devotees first. Okay, so this is just a few meditations on Ratha-yatra. Forgive me for anything I've spoken, strange or confusing. But know that our mission is the same mission as Srila Prabhupada, same mission as Srila Gurudev, coming as the successor of Srila Prabhupada, serving his family, serving the devotees, trying to bring us closer to Krishna. Closer to Krishna. That's why we do Ratha-yatra. So one Ratha-yatra, our daily life, how can we serve God? And last Ratha-yatra, the Antim, the final Ratha-yatra, is going from this body, giving up this material body, and going to God. Then when we go to God, then we'll be with Him forever. Then there's a final Ratha-yatra in God's kingdom, then every day is festival. That's the real Ratha-yatra we want to be in. The Ratha-yatra of Radharani going from Varshana to Nandagram to cook. The Ratha-yatra of Krishna going with the calves to graze in the forest. That's the Ratha-yatra we want to be in. Krishna with the cowherd boys. Radharani with the gopis. We want to be in that Ratha-yatra. How do we get in that Ratha-yatra? Follow the other two. Every day, how to serve God with your actions. 10%. And then, at the end of this life, remember God, go to the spiritual world. And then finally, wherever we are, whatever we do in His world, will be